I didn't understand that doubt and moving towards your dreams could exist together. Like, I always thought that I had to be some sort of very confident person all the time, and I always had to believe in myself, and I had to be making art that I was so proud of in order to put it out there and feel really good about myself, when in reality that just wasn't the case. I felt the worst that I had ever felt, but I knew that there was no other option but to continue to believe in myself regardless. I always thought that believing in yourself meant that you just have like a steady understanding of who you are and what you do, but believing in yourself is actually believing in your whole journey. It's believing that you're having these insecurities for a reason, and that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now for a reason, and that you came from certain circumstances for a reason. It's believing in yourself is so much more than just having like a confident little headspace. It's believing in your entire path and your entire journey. Believing in your dreams, but also believing in your life now and where you came from and your struggles and your insecurities and your doubts. Believing that all of it is there for a reason and is teaching you what you need to be taught and is getting you to the place that you need to be. Hey guys, I wanted to just film this very casually. I don't really have anything planned. I was just thinking about this and sort of wanted to say my thoughts out loud. I had a mentor a few years ago. Oh my gosh, there is a squirrel hanging upside down from a tree outside. There's a tree that's growing berries right now, and he's hanging upside down, eating the berries off of the tree. But I had a mentor a few years back, and he has a really inspirational life story. He told me about his journey, and he told me that he had immigrated to the United States and started a business and was doing really well, and then issues started to come, and he started going through different levels of turmoil and growth and learning, and ended up getting deported and had to work on coming back to the US and building up his business again. He said something that stuck with me, that still has stuck with me to this day, and that has kept me going whenever I feel like I cannot keep going. And he said that he knew that if he was able to gain any sort of success and lose it all, he knew that he was only quote unquote successful if he could build it all back up from the bottom again. And he was at the bottom. Everything that he had created was destroyed, and he was out of the country, and he wanted to get back. Like, everything was done for him. And so he said, I know that I will truly be successful when I can build up that level of success again for myself and do it from the bottom. And that always stuck with me because when I was younger, I had kind of this like young girlish confidence about me, even though I was pretty shy and reserved. I had this like inner knowing that I really wanted to share my writing and my poetry and my photography. So when I was in high school, I was really bold with that. That was a hobby of mine that I continued to pursue because I was a kid and I loved doing it. And I would take portraits of my friends and they would take ones of me. I was so passionate about my camera and making YouTube videos and writing poetry and taking photos to match with my poetry and posting it online. And I didn't really care about what anyone had to say about me. Like, I went to public school and I knew that putting myself out there, people might sort of talk about it or see me differently. But for some reason, even though I was insecure and shy, it just never bothered me. I just wanted to do it anyways because I loved it. And I knew that that was what I was meant for. I did get rewarded. I ended up connecting with so many people online who were like me. I felt relatively recognized for my efforts after a few years of doing it. And it was what I was so passionate about. But obviously growing up, we kind of get thrusted into the real world of like, okay, time to stress out and time to carry these levels of responsibility. I graduated high school in 2020. So I did not get a graduation or anything like that. It was kind of a crazy transition into adulthood. And I knew that I would have to financially figure out how to take care of myself and start my life. And I was trying to figure out how to balance going to college with that and all of these things that I had never really had to think about before. And whenever I stepped into the workforce and I was learning these new skills and I was working a job and, another job, starting to live my adult life, all of my creative joys and and inspirations sort of got trampled on. That energy that I usually would put towards my art and my creations and being a kid and doing those things with confidence, it ended up going into my work and into taking notes and meetings. And like, I still had that creative energy about me and that creative force, but it was coming out in different ways. It was paying my bills through executive work, trying to be the best worker I could possibly be. And it left me feeling very empty, and I was supporting myself, but I wasn't really creating anything that I was proud of. I don't know if this is relatable to any of you, but like, I found it a lot easier to work jobs that don't really require any sort of creative thought, because that allows me to save that for my art, where this job was very demanding of my mind, my body, my creations all the time. And so I couldn't really balance the two. But I'm really grateful because I met some great people through it, like this mentor that I'm telling you guys about. And he told me that he knew that he would truly be successful in life if he could build everything that he wanted and the things that he already got a taste of again from the bottom up. And why I say that is because after working that job and sort of losing my passion, confidence that I had in my abilities as a younger teenage girl, I was now sort of stuck in early adulthood being like, okay, how do I get back to that? But also, like, I don't want to be a teenager again. Like, I don't miss being 16, but I do miss the creative freedom and the inspiration and me making things and feeling good about it and putting it out there. How do I get back to that? It honestly was a very humbling process, because I had this voice in my head being like, well, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, that was your chance as a kid and you should have just kept doing that. And now you've lost your inspiration. You don't know how to do this as well anymore. You don't know what you're doing. It's not going to be as good, whatever. That was really discouraging, because I know it sounds funny because I was only like 21, 22 at the time, of me thinking, oh, I can't do it again. I won't be good enough like I used to be. I'm sure that some of you can kind of relate to that. Like, even though it only is a few years from 16, 17 to 21, 22, whatever, it is a massive shift in life. It's a transition being a kid to adulthood, and there's so much that's going on in the midst of that. And there was literally a pandemic happening in the midst of my journey, at least. I just felt very lost, and I didn't know how to return to that passion that I had, let alone gain any sort of success from that. In my eyes, what success means to me is being able to authentically express myself through my creations and have that impact others in a way that is positive and contributes to their growth in any way. That is what success looks like to me. And I felt like I was kind of doing that with my writing in high school. And whenever I lost track of it and felt super disconnected from that part of myself, I was just like, okay, well, I can never succeed like that again. And like, I really had that belief about myself. And I felt like every time that I would like try to sit down and write, or even think about filming a YouTube video or doing my photography again, I felt like a washed up loser. I know it sounds kind of dramatic, but like, I did. Even though I knew, no, I am an artist, this is what I want to do, I want to reach that level of success where I'm affecting others in a positive way, the voice just kept coming and coming, that voice of doubt. It made it really hard for me to make any sort of progress. It's like there was part of me with this inner knowing that knew I wanted all of those things and that I was capable of it, and I could do it again, and I could do it again in a way that was even better than before. That part of me helped me quit my job. So I made that sacrifice, and it wasn't an easy sacrifice. It affected my life in so many ways, but I knew that I did it for a reason. And doing all of that and trying to stay in the headspace of that reason and that inner knowing, while there's also that voice of doubt being like, what are you doing? You can't do it again. That was cute when you were a kid, but not anymore. It was just like, it was a battle that kept me very paralyzed and kept me very stuck. I felt like I was in such a place of stagnancy with my creations, with who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I just felt very stuck, is the point. That kept me in a place of feeling paralyzed, and I didn't know if I was making the right decisions, but I sort of did. But I was trying to battle with this doubt in my head, and I always went back to that statement that that mentor had said, where he was talking about building his life from the bottom again. And of course, from the bottom, that means something different for everybody. To me, the bottom meant taking years away from the things that I was passionate about, and financially sort of coming from the bottom too, of being at a place that was one thing and now I'm sacrificing it to be down here so I can do this. I felt like I was at my bottom, and mental health wise too. So much stuff happened between 2020 and now. Family, sickness, death, all these life events happening. It just felt so difficult to move anywhere from the bottom. I had felt like I had reached my lowest point so far in life, and I didn't know how to have some sort of renaissance to bring me back to this creative spirit that I used to have. I didn't know how to build that again. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, so let me tell you how to do it, because I am no expert. I am still figuring out how to create the life that I want to live. That's what I love about my outlet here on YouTube and just talking with you guys, is I feel like we're all in this journey together, and I don't need to know exactly what I'm doing in order to share what I'm going through with you guys. And I think that maybe some of you are kind of in the same boat, so I feel like I'm talking to friends who know what I mean. I truly had to just tell myself over and over again, even if I was a kid, if I could reach any sort of state of inspiration and joy, I know that I can get to that place again. And I know that as long as I keep the intention, I will affect somebody out there with the things that I'm making, and that's all I want to do. In my lowest moments, when I didn't even believe that, I would just tell myself that over and over again. I can just think flashbacks to moments where I didn't know what was coming next. I didn't know how I was going to get up the next day and continue feeling so mentally and physically. Like I said, there was illness, mentally, physically, everything. Just feeling so low. I did not believe that I could accomplish anything, and things that I had sacrificed so much for. And I just felt so shameful and insecure in a new way that I had never felt before. And I just had to keep telling myself over and over again, no, if I felt that before, I will feel it again, and I will feel it again in a way that is new to me, to this version of me. I don't need to crave the past or wish that I had my teenage self's inspiration. No, I'm going to reach a new chapter of my adulthood. I'm not some washed up loser who is making stupid decisions in life. I am somebody who is taking a risk to focus on the things that maybe are not paying off right now, but are so close to my heart. And I will go through the humbling experiences I need to in order to prioritize that. I just kept reinforcing that in my head. Yes, my poetry doesn't make me feel the way that it used to, but if I keep working this muscle, it will grow back. I kind of had to realize that my creativity and my inspiration to move towards the things that I really wanted in life was like a garden. It was like a bed of soil, and I had planted a bunch of seeds when I was younger, and the seeds got watered and they were growing, and then maybe as adulthood came and crazy life events happened and the stress of certain responsibilities took over, my garden got a bit trampled on. It started growing some weeds and growing in all these different directions here and there, and it was not what I wanted. It wasn't healthy. Like the soil was kind of poisoned in this area, and there was like nasty dried up stuff over here, and I knew that there was still potential within this garden, but it was not where I wanted it to be. And so instead of having patience with myself and understanding that it was a process and a journey that, yes, required work and willpower, but also required waiting and breathing and regaining a sense of stability in my mind and in my life. That's how a garden works, is you got to cut those weeds down and kind of clean it up, and then you start to plant new seeds again, and you have to water them, you have to tend to them and nurture this life that is here. It's not just going to grow overnight and look exactly the way you want it to. So I had to just keep reminding myself of that, even though I felt crazy. And I was reinforcing that, and I was telling myself that alongside so much doubt. So I think that's like kind of the point of what I'm trying to say, is even if you don't believe in yourself fully right now, like you have a wish or you have a dream or you have a vision or you're an artist and you want to get your work out there, it's okay to have so much doubt within yourself and to have insecurity. I think that the world sets us up to be like that. Like if we're doing something that is not on the traditional path, or we are making sacrifices that might look crazy to the people on the outside, and we're choosing to do things differently, we can doubt ourselves a lot. And a lot of other people will project their own doubt onto us too if we're doing something sort of out of the ordinary. And I have totally been in that for the past few years, and to where people are looking at me being like, yeah, but like, maybe you should be doing this, and yeah, that's cool, but like, I would probably consider this if I were you. I have seen many confused faces and heard many opinions as to what I should be doing. And like, I totally understand, like, people want to give guidance and advice and point you in the right direction when you are younger. But at the same time, if there is a dream and there is a thing that you are chasing and you know that you are meant to do that in this life, and it requires maybe sacrifice or a level of discomfort or whatever it is to get there, even if there is doubt, I promise you that you can still do it. And I think that's something that I didn't really understand. I didn't understand that doubt and moving towards your dreams could exist together. Like, I always thought that I had to be some sort of very confident person all the time, and I always had to believe in myself, and I had to be making art that I was so proud of in order to put it out there or to become successful in this way. I had to like be perfect, and I had to think of myself that way, and I had to be bold and put myself out there and feel really good about myself, when in reality that just wasn't the case. I felt the worst that I had ever felt, but I knew that there was no other option. Since I had made certain sacrifices, I knew that there was no other option but to continue to believe in myself regardless. I always thought that believing in yourself meant that you just have like a steady understanding of who you are and what you do, but believing in yourself is actually believing in your whole journey. It's believing that you're having these insecurities for a reason. It's believing in God or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, and the plan that has been laid out for you, and the lessons that you're supposed to be learning, and that you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now for a reason, and that you came from certain circumstances for a reason. It's believing in yourself is so much more than just having like a confident little headspace. It's believing in your entire path and your entire journey, believing in your dreams, but also believing in your life now and where you came from and your struggles and your insecurities and your doubts, believing that all of it is there for a reason and is teaching you what you need to be taught and is getting you to the place that you need to be. So that really changed my perspective on what it meant to believe in myself. And I think that it's something that I every single day still trying to do. I wake up most days feeling extremely insecure and sort of stressed out and doubtful, and I have to really put intention into taking a breath and looking myself in the mirror and understanding that everything is happening to me for my highest good, and that I can utilize anything to get me to where I want to go. Honestly, that has been the secret to how I've gotten through some really difficult moments in my life, by believing, no, I can get through this and I can use this for good. I can use this to teach me how to be strong in this area. I can use this to teach me how to process these types of emotions so that next time something like this happens, I will be equipped and I will know how to move through it with grace. It's so important to believe in the entirety of the journey. That's what it means to believe in yourself and your dreams, is not just this vision of the future that you have or this better version of yourself. It's you now and everything you've already done and everything that has happened to you and the circumstances and how you've responded to it. Like, believe in it all, because it is taking you where you need to go. So in the moments that I have felt my lowest and at the bottom, I've remembered that there are people and circumstances that look very different from mine, and people like my mentor who was starting from his bottom and building up from there. And there are so many other people that have done the same, who have come from different circumstances, who felt as though maybe they could never get to this point, but they believed in it anyways, and they continue to go after that, and they continue to do anything they could in their circumstances to build their way to that goal. And I've just definitely kept the doubt in me alive, and the insecurity in me still exists, but I haven't let it stop me from also believing in myself and my journey and my dreams. So if you are insecure, or you're hearing that voice in your head, or those around you are telling you that you're not good enough, or maybe you should consider something else, or making you feel bad for being off a traditional path or doing things differently, just know that all of that can exist. People's opinions of you can exist. Your opinion of yourself can exist, but you can still move towards what you want. I don't know if you guys have read Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I read it a few years ago, and she really hones in on that statement of like, we can do hard things. I've always kind of got that idea my whole life, like, we can do it, you can do it, even if it's hard. But I didn't fully grasp what that meant until so much insecurity took over my life and I felt like I was at my lowest points. But I knew what I wanted, and I knew that it was hard and it felt difficult to get there, but I just had to do it anyways. That's what I'm still trying to embody every single day. Just understanding that like, it is hard to make certain sacrifices. It is hard to believe in a vision and a goal that maybe hasn't manifested itself right in front of your face yet. And there's so much doubt around what your purpose is or what you're supposed to be doing. Even though it is hard and doubt exists, it's still possible. And if anything, the more we continue to move towards the things that we want, even when that insecurity exists, and even when those doubts exist, and even when those voices are telling you that you can't do it, you're just consistently proving to yourself that nothing is going to stop you. Like we were talking about earlier, the garden, we have to be patient with ourselves in the journey too. It's not like My Neighbor Totoro, I don't know if you've seen, there's that one night where the girls are dancing in the garden with Totoro, and then all the seeds just grow really big and they're like trees, and that is so magical. But that is probably not going to happen overnight with the seeds that you plant, right? So it's just continuously about going back and watering those seeds and nurturing the things that start to grow, and realizing that like, even though things look daunting when it's a clean slate and you're at your lowest point or the bottom and you're making certain sacrifices and life doesn't look the way you want it to be, that garden and those seeds will grow in time. There are storms and okay, this analogy is getting kind of intense, but like, that garden will grow the more that you tend to it, and you can tend to it even when insecurity and doubt exists. And the more it grows and the more you continue to nurture it, even when those not so good feelings are there, I think that your insecurities and your doubts will slowly start to shrivel away once you watch your garden grow bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm still trying to believe in myself and have confidence in myself every day, but it is getting better because I've watched myself continue to nurture this garden of creativity that felt so destroyed and barren. And I've now started to see new growth, and that has given me a little bit of a boost of confidence. Like, no, you know what? I can still create, and I am in a new chapter of life. There is new growth. It's never going to look like what it used to. I'm building anew. Just believing in the journey, all of the pieces that come with it, whether that is the people you meet on the path or the insecurities you have and the lessons that you learn and the pain that you go through. It is all fueling you and your garden to be where it needs to be. I have a friend who's an actress, and she went through a similar thing in her life as well, where she practiced her craft a lot when she was in high school. Like, she was very engaged in what she was interested in and what she loved and her passions, and she was always using that muscle. And then once the pandemic came and we graduated and life took over, she was given a new set of issues and responsibilities and a new chapter of life to kind of step into and navigate. She felt as though she had lost a lot of her creative inspiration and joy. Like, she wasn't as good anymore as she was back then. She didn't want to go back to those times. She wanted to be able to bring that confidence that she had when she was younger with her now, but she was just trying to build it back, and she has taken the active steps to get back into it. And it's felt very uncomfortable and humbling to get back into your craft that you felt you were so good at before, and now maybe you haven't done it for years and you are an adult now. You don't really know how to bring that creative spirit into the stage of your life now and to really utilize that and build it. And she's someone who deals with insecurity and doubt, and she has actively continued to put herself outside of her comfort zone when it comes to her craft, and continued to practice and go and get humbled and honestly like get more validation for her insecurities, but to do it anyways. And she is building that back up and doing better than she ever has before, because she is at a stage of life now where she has more wisdom. She is an adult and she can step into this creative field with that wisdom that she didn't have when she was younger. And she's building that confidence in a newfound way. It's new growth. It's a new part of the garden. It's new seeds that she is watering. So it's like, I think it even like applies to my mom who loves to paint. And she's somebody who always says, wish I didn't lose my creative spirit. I wish I continued to do those things and make that art throughout my life, but I had to give it up to work a corporate job, to take care of myself and my family and this and that. And I think that is such a common thing. We give up so much of our artistry and what we love to do and our passions in order to just exist and live and feed ourselves. And I know that it's not realistic to sacrifice everything to go become an artist. I'm not saying that we all have to do that and that's not all of our paths, but I'm saying that even though it's so uncomfortable and scary sometimes to reintroduce our passions and our dreams and our creativity back into our experience, even when we feel so far from that and like our creative garden is just barren, it is possible to reintroduce those things and to start growing our dreams again. When we're kids, we have that childish joy and passion for a reason, and that's something that shouldn't just die off as we get older. And I think I'm at a stage now where I am moving into adulthood. I am here looking at everything around me, ready to cut off my garden, being like, okay, throw that away, throw that childish joy and passion and dreams away so that you can go survive in the real world. I get it, and I see the sacrifices, and I see how crazy I look to some people continuing to believe in my work and what I want to do and my dreams and my visions, and it's not really supported by the world around us. And we all have a different set of responsibilities and who we need to take care of and ourselves and what we need to do in order to survive and exist in the world. And I think that it is just so intimidating to try and keep the dreams and the passions and the art alive while we're figuring out how to do that at the same time. Even when we feel so uninspired and when we feel like we're at the bottom, if there is that little, okay, there's an airplane going by. When our garden is barren, all of our creativity and all the things that fuel our passion and brought us that childlike joy, even when it feels like that is all gone, it can always be regrown again. It does require humility. It does require effort. It does require sacrifice in whatever form we're able to give it, but it is possible no matter what stage of life we're in. And right now, I'm at this very pivotal point of how much am I willing to sacrifice and risk for my goals and for what makes me feel truly happy, or how much am I willing to give that up and move towards a more traditional path? Like, what am I willing to sacrifice? Do I want to sacrifice safety and security and stability in order to tend to this garden and do everything I possibly can? Or do I want to sacrifice my heart's greatest desires and do what is safe or what is just expected of me to do? And like I said, we're all very different and we have different sacrifices that we're able to make, but I know that I am choosing to still look a little crazy and still believe in things that are not right there in front of me, because that is my garden that I want to tend to. That creative life inside of me is something that I am not willing to sacrifice. I think a lot of us don't want to sacrifice it, but we feel as though we have to. I just want to say that even if it's the smallest little actions of planting one seed and watering it a little bit, maybe that's you take one day after work a week to go sit outside and take a canvas and some paint and just paint. Maybe you love to paint. Maybe you love to sing. When you were a little girl, you wanted to be a famous musician. Maybe it's time to bring that instrument back out and go to a class once a week, once a month, even just anything, any sort of bit of nurturing will make a difference. It will. Even if that doubt exists, even if the outside world and all the responsibilities we have to tend to exist, if we continue to prioritize just a little bit of time to plant and nurture and to watch things grow, even if it's just a little bit, it's so worth it. And it can grow into something beautiful. It can grow into you being a part of a community or making connections with others or having that meditative moment of practicing your craft during the week. It can bring any sort of joy to your life to nurture and tend to those things. And I think so much of the time, even though we love to do that stuff and we care about it, we just don't prioritize it because we don't have to at the end of the day to pay our bills or to get food on the table table, I am realizing that I have to do this. And I have to make some decisions that maybe others wouldn't make, but I'm doing it because I know that I can't sacrifice this thing. I don't think any of us should. And I think that even if it's the smallest action, we can all prioritize what we love somehow in the midst of all the craziness in this world. And it doesn't have to be some daunting thing. Like, for example, I write poetry, and me getting back into my writing did not look like me going to an open mic once a week. Like, that is too much for me, right? So it can be daunting to try and reintroduce what we love and our creative passions into our life again. It doesn't have to be anything big. Like, for me, it was literally just writing my stream of consciousness, like random thoughts in my journal a few mornings a week. That was how I kind of started to reintroduce myself into these things and into this passion that I knew I had and that I knew I exercised once when I was younger and didn't have the stresses of adulthood or whatever. I guess in conclusion, we can still nurture our creative passions even when doubt exists, even when insecurity exists, even when the weight of the world and the responsibilities that we have exist. We still, even though it feels kind of uncomfortable and weird to prioritize it, even if it's just a little bit, it's still there for us, and we can still do it when everything else is going on at the same time. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to build the life that I want and put all the work I possibly can in, even when it doesn't really make sense, and even when it looks like it probably won't work. I am listening to that little voice in my heart that was louder when I was a kid, and I'm trying to bring its volume back up again and listen to it and prioritize it, even in the midst of adulthood and all of the lessons that it has brought me and presented me with. It's taken some time, and it's taken some rebirth and uprooting the things that were there and taking all the weeds out. But I knew that I could plant new seeds, and even whenever I didn't see them growing immediately, I knew that I wasn't going to listen to the doubts and the fears, and I was just going to keep going. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. It is my wish to see any of you or anybody who has that thing that brings them that childlike joy, that passion, that artistry within them that they want to continue to pursue. Maybe they are just starting out their career and they are prioritizing it and they want to become successful, or they've already settled into a life and a career, but they want to reintroduce those things back in. Whatever it is, wherever you're at in your journey, my wish is that you know your passions and you nurturing that garden can happen even in the midst of hardship and doubt and the craziness that life is and all that it requires from us. It can feel really exhausting and depleting to live through all of the demands of life and at the end of the day still go to your open mic or still pull out your guitar or still paint on the porch or whatever it is. Like, I know that it can feel exhausting to prioritize yet another thing in your life, but the more that we take that little bit of time to tend to that garden and tend to our dreams and our desires, as we watch it grow, that will continue to bring us more energy, and it will replenish us when we are depleted from the world around us and bring us that childlike joy, which is something that we 100% need in this life to move through the darkness of adulthood and how sad and scary and hard our world can be. That inner voice and that inner knowing inside of us and those childlike desires exist for a reason. If we can acknowledge them and make space for them, even if it's really small, something beautiful and revitalizing to us can grow and exist in our life experience. So that is what I am trying to do. And I encourage you guys to maybe try to do it with me. I don't know what that looks like in your life. I don't even totally know what it looks like in my life. I'm trying. But yeah, I just hope you know that wherever you are in your journey, it is always possible to tend to that garden again, even when it is bare. When you are at your lowest moments, it's only up from there, right? That's what I always had to tell myself. Keep believing in yourself and your journey and the entirety of it. In your lowest points, in your highest points, all of it is part of the dream. And if we don't start now, then when? If you are an artist and you are feeling a lack of inspiration and you want to do some exercises and get yourself back into that creative headspace again, I would definitely recommend The Artist's Way. Give it a listen. I know that the audiobook is available on Spotify Premium. Hey, I'm like, this would be a great chance for Audible to sponsor me. I know that the audiobook is on Spotify, and I have the physical copy. You can buy the physical copy too. She has a journal that you can do exercises in. So I have never read anything that has helped me more in this realm of things that we're talking about than The Artist's Way. So definitely give that a read if you'd like. We're all on this journey together, feeling depleted by the world and trying to find inspiration again in the things that we love. But I truly do think it's possible, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy or life-altering to just start nurturing our creativity and the things that make us feel happy again. And if your goal is to change your life and to find success from doing what you love, then just know that it is 100% possible, even when you're at your lowest point. All of that doubt, that sadness can exist while you still continue to believe in yourself. Even when you don't believe in yourself and you're listening to the voices of doubt inside of you and around you, you can still look towards that North Star of whatever your dream is, whatever your passion is, and move towards it even when it doesn't feel good. Anyways, I will talk to you guys soon, and thank you for watching. Bye.